Thank you. Welcome, and it's an honor and a privilege to have you all here today in our new building. I've met some of you before in other locations, but this is the first time here, so I'm so happy about that. Telia Estonia, we are actually the third biggest investor in the Estonian society. And the reason why we invest heavily in the society, it's quite clear. Firstly, we believe that the future belongs to those companies who can provide our customer with seamless connectivity, no matter of place, device, time, or technology. We also strongly believe that digitalization is and will be the key success for this region. So digitalization will bring Estonia to the next level. Therefore, we are so committed to invest in the Estonian society. And finally, we believe by doing our investments in connectivity, we can help people to live a more convenient life, a more secure life, and a more, let's say, a life on their terms. We have proudly been a part of launching new innovative services and offering for the e-society for a long time, and we are so committed to continue to do that even in the future. Innovation and cooperation are keywords for Telia Estonia, and it's actually keywords for Telia company as well. And the VUNK program this year has a focus on those things, meaning innovation and cooperation, and finding new partnerships. And I think it's so important that we are able to find new partnerships, both within Estonia, but also that we can bring those partnerships to our group, so that we can be the forerunner when it comes to innovation, both in Estonia as well in the Telia Sonera group. Being an innovation leader in this tough market, because it's a tough competition, and then the only way to stay ahead is to be leader in innovation, and the way of doing it is to team up with partners. We should not, and we are not, underestimating the role of our partners, because we need them. And we strongly believe that that is one of our, let's say, unique success recipe if we should be able to stay in front in this fierce competition, that we have the best and good partners that we can team up with. And working together with partners will actually enable us to bring even more value to our customer, to our Estonian society, and also to bring more value to the Telia company group. Let me give you two good examples of partnerships. Next year, we will launch 5G in Estonia. We will be one of the first countries in the world with 5G. We will do that together with Ericsson. It's a good example of partnership. Another good example of partnership is within the IoT world. Everybody's talking about IoT. Sometimes I feel a little bit it's going to be a buzzword. Still, we believe in IoT. We believe that we can be the enabler. We have the platform, but we need to have the best partners if we should be able to succeed. We need to have partners with a clear focus on value that we can bring to our customer. And we need to have partners in different areas. Rebecka will talk a little bit later on about how we see partnership and innovation in Telia company in the group. And the beauty of having belonged to a big group is that we have the financial muscles that is needed. We also have the knowledge, and we can bring in competence from different countries. Therefore, I would like to underline again that innovation and cooperation is not just about what we're doing within Estonia, it's also keywords for Telia company. So the mission of being in bringing innovation is something that we have clear. We also need to use the toolbox that we have, and one of the things that we can use together with you is, of course, this type of events, when we are coming together, when we see what we can do together as well. I strongly believe that the future, once again, belongs to those companies that are able to find good partnership and are able to integrate with partners, not just on our terms, on our partners' terms as well. So, thanks for coming here. Thanks for spending time with us. We are so grateful for that. And once again, we strongly believe and we are so committed to the future with cooperation, with partners within this area. So thanks.
Thank you. Huge thanks one more time to Dan Strömbeg, our CEO of Telia Estonia. Now, talking about partnership, it usually starts with how to find partners in business world and in private life. I think it becomes it starts with the most simple word, and it's hello. And as far as I know, we have here people from different backgrounds. It would be nice for starters if you can say hello to the person sitting next to you. So if you have met him or her for the first time, you can say hello. Yeah, you can do that. Because we will have a networking time afterwards also. So, or in case if you already know the person, you can make a compliment. Something really uncharacteristic for an Estonian. Well, no worries. We will have time laterwards for networking. And definitely, I assume we have many people, many guests here who are really eager to have a look on the new building. We also have tours afterwards. Now, when we're talking about services or products or innovation, then I really like one sentence what Gary V, also known as his real name Gary Vaynerchuk, has said. By the way, who has heard about this name, Gary Vaynerchuk? Okay, many of you, I would say 1/3, 1/4. He's like the rock star when it comes to social media platforms and startups. And he has been hammering for now maybe more than 10 years. And when it comes to marketing or giving the message out, his message is really simple. Whatever we do, whether if it's business, if it's products or services, we are all in a storytelling business. Now, for the next couple of minutes, we're going to hear some inspiring stories from Finland. And when I first heard about this app called UApp, the first thing when I installed it, I kind of looked, this reminds me of one movie. And it goes a couple of years back where Bradley Cooper and Robert De Niro were the main actors. It was called Limitless. So basically, how you can become the better version of yourself. Maybe she has the answer, not thanks to the magic pill, but thanks to the magic app. And what is the story behind UApp and how she has managed to maybe tackle the code of growth hacking? Does she has the answers? We're going to find out. It is a really pleasure and honor to welcome here, and especially appreciating your time. Thanks for being here. Let's make a round of applause all the way from Finland. Far away, but seriously, thank you for being here. The CEO and founder of UApp, Nelli Lähteenmäki. Olepa hyvä, Nelli.
Kiitos, Anders. All right, can you guys hear me? Yes, I guess. Wow, so good to be here today. Thanks so much for having me, Mikka and Kristi and Telia people. Thank you. I was just laughing at this. This is like the idiot proof, like red, green. Like, if I cannot use this, then I must be pretty worried. But it's such a great pleasure to be here. And I have to reveal something to from the get-go. Actually, in 2009, for about 6 months, I had a chance to work in Telia in Finland, or Sonera at that time, doing some e-sales strategy for their mobility, practice there. So I have, a strong connection with the Telia. So great to meet you all here, and as well as the startups who are present. So today we'll have around 30 minutes of time. I hope if you have any questions, you can ask, whenever they come to your mind. So I hope this is more a conversation and connection that we're having rather than me just, talking and talking and talking. Or then you can ask some questions in the end. So 2 things I want to talk about. First, I'm going to give you a little bit of a context of what we are doing and why we are doing it, or what are the values based on which we built UApp. And second up, I'm going to be talking about growth hacking, because our startup had a chance to be part of the 500 Startups, which is one of the accelerators in the US, in California, and that's what they teach there pretty heavily. So I'm going to just give you a kind of quick kind of 101 on how they teach growth hacking in California. But first, a couple of words about myself. So I'm an engineer by background. I don't know, in Estonia, do students look stupid like that? In Finland, everybody's wearing overalls, maybe because they would just get dirty when they crawl on the ground or something like that. And I don't know if you guys are wearing these kind of student caps like Finns do. Do you have that? Yes, you do. Do you have that pom-pom thing for the engineers? No. So, well, this is some kind of an engineer version of the student cap. So I studied at Helsinki University of Technology, nowadays Aalto University School of Science. I studied industrial engineering and management as my major and mechanical engineering as my minor. And even maybe more than my educational background, actually California has helped me become an entrepreneur. So the first time I got to live in California was when I did my master's thesis for IBM there. Second time, the first thing that that came to my mind after moving back from California, the first time I lived there, was that whatever happens, I need to get back to California as soon as possible. And 1 year later, I was able to join a tech startup called Eucalyptus Systems. I'm not sure if anybody is familiar with Eucalyptus Systems. They actually were I think they were acquired by I think Intel or something like that, like a few years ago. But anyway, like Eucalyptus Systems did infrastructure as a service, private cloud software platforms, and obviously that was a great challenge to be there and start selling them. And it was, even though what we do nowadays, consumer social, well-being software, it has nothing to do with infrastructure as a service, cloud software platforms. It was still a very important kind of learning lesson of my own learning ability, which is very, very important for any entrepreneur or anybody, like just for us to have the kind of the courage to believe in our own ability to grow and learn things that we do not even know that we are gonna have to learn soon. But 1 year in Silicon Valley, once again, did wonders. After that, I just couldn't help myself anymore of getting off to the path of entrepreneurship. At that time, so I was in California up until the summer 2012, and at that point, all the kind of health trackers and health technologies were up and rising. I don't know how many of you have ever worn any tracker or Fitbit or any of those. So quite many of you. So it's getting more and more popular. I think that's pretty amazing. And in 2012, they were just kind of up and coming, and it was all of a sudden like we could track things. We could make visible something that was invisible before. Like we didn't know how 10,000 steps feel, or how much of deep sleep we get in a night. Like these kinds of things were all of a sudden available. So we founded a startup called Health Puzzle in 2012, right after I got back from California, with the idea of helping people live happier and healthier by giving them more personalized recommendations based on data from different trackers that we could kind of get the data together and analyze and then give the advice. But we pretty soon understood that, okay, this very high quality data is not the answer. Actually, the more important answer is to help people with behavior change first. But I'm going to get back to that a bit later. So we founded Fifth Corner Inc., which is the creator of UApp, in 2014. So with UApp, our mission is pretty ballsy, so to say, like to help billions of people live a happier and healthier life. And how on earth can we say something like that? Is because we use scalable technologies to reach people. So it is not just theoretically possible, it is actually possible to have this kind of a reach. In a nutshell, UApp is all about setting mighty goals, but getting there through micro actions. We've been working with psychologists and neuroscientists in order to help people with what we say sustainable positive behavior change. And UApp on the left-hand side is one of the is our kind of most famous product. So It's an app that gives small micro actions that you on mindfulness, eating a little bit better, moving a little bit more, loving yourself or the people around you a little bit more, things like that. And you complete every micro action with a picture, with a little description, and then you can share it within the community of micro action doers. That is a global community. Our biggest user bases are in the UK, Australia, and the US at this moment. There's also a book version of the app called the Book of You, which was kind of a surprise for us when somebody from Penguin Books called us in 2015 asking like, can we make a book version of the app, like with 365 micro actions? We were like, sounds good, let's do it. and that was one of those things that we definitely didn't kind of anticipate, but then we made it work. So that was a lovely little surprise. But maybe I'll tell you a few more things about why on earth we decided to, do this. Why an app, with micro actions? But the reason behind this can be actually seen in this graph, and this is pretty dramatic, I have to say. This graph shows how well people stick with typical New Year's resolutions. So on the left-hand side, like 100% are on board 1st of January, but 6 months later, only 4% are sticking with their New Year's resolutions. That means 96% of people fail every single time they try to, change, a New Year's resolution or similar change process. And that's quite a lot of failure, isn't it? If we think about numbers, it can be like hundreds of millions of people, if not billions of people every year failing. And that is pretty bad, isn't it? So we were like, okay, there has to be, there's something wrong in this industry, because we know that the self-improvement industry is pretty big, isn't it? It's a huge, this whole wellness and diets industry, it's huge, but still people have hard time succeeding. So we took a little bit of closer look. Obviously, we'll have these kinds of, solutions that sell quick fixes and quick diets and crash diets, and in just 2 weeks you'll lose 25 pounds. All these kinds of, bullshit, to be completely honest. I'm so sorry. Because whatever of these kind of quick fixes, these are not created for sustainable positive behavior change. They're just kind of sold as a big dreams that people are willing to believe, but they definitely are not built respecting your, your psyche or your brain science in terms of behavior change. Then if we look some other health self-improvement players, like the world is filled with these kinds of examples, like both for men and women, like weigh less by the end of the week, or great butts, sculpt a high tight tusk in record time. Like in record time, fast, quickly, you'll get there. These kinds of expectations that are completely unrealistic. And what's even worse, kind of the deep down feeling that many of these self-improvement players, have in mind as their key kind of business model is is making us consumers feel inadequate, right? That if I, as I am, I'm not enough, I'm not, something enough, I'm not, beautiful enough or successful enough or muscular enough, for something. And that feeling of inadequacy is actually pretty detrimental, as you can imagine. And the kind of even the more dramatic thing about this is that sometimes this feeling of inadequacy is created by completely false images, right? We're admiring or idolizing something that is not even real, right? So this is something like the whole industry is kind of needed. We felt that this industry needed something new, the whole self-improvement industry. So if we look at then, some of the most prominent health apps, which obviously I'm using quite many trackers. This is also a tracker, actually, this ring, which is pretty fun. And I noticed like many of you are wearing trackers. So we all know that, that most of them look like this. And it's kind of good. It's interesting. It's data, it's dashboards, it's numbers, it's comparison, it's leaderboards, it's loser boards, it's like all of this stuff. But this is, one way of looking at it, but it's not necessarily the most optimized for, once again, for sustainable positive behavior change, because for many people this is a kind of a hard battle to win, if you put it that way. If you've kind of failed 25 times in your diet in the past, this might not be the kind of this very number-based, dashboard-based, competitive space might not be the best for you. So that's the reason why we actually created, before we coded a single line of UApp, we actually created a manifesto based on which we wanted, kind of the values based on which we wanted to create the app. And maybe I'll read it to you very quickly so you'll get a understanding. So we all have it in us to live a happy, healthy life, yet change can be hard. We believe in small steps. Change rarely happens overnight. Your life is the sum of small daily actions, and every choice can be significant. We want to empower you to make change happen one small step at a time. Your life is not a number or a dashboard. It's not how many steps you walked or how many calories you ate or your place on the leaderboard. Life is richer. It's feelings, moments, pausing to find beauty. Life is enjoying every victory, celebrating balance and showing vulnerability. Life is being perfectly imperfect, proudly, etc. So this was kind of the value base based on which we, created UApp, and that's what it has become, it ended to become. So there are a lot of different kinds of actions on self-love and saying I am enough, or being mindful, and obviously eating better and moving more. But it's more about this internal change. We've had the honor to be featured quite a lot by Apple. Also, this one's something that us as a small Finnish team, we're very proud of. We were #1 in the US App Store end of last year, which was a wonderful kind of show of support from Apple. And we also, as said, we were part of the 500 Startups Accelerator in end of 2015. And that's where we learned these basics of growth hacking, which I'm going to be sharing with you. But this was kind of the background where we come from. So as a summary, we truly, truly want to help people with sustainable, positive behavior change. And we're doing it. I'm not saying that I'm against those numeric tracking apps, because I'm using them myself too. There's a place for them. But there's also a place for a little bit more emotionally engaging and kind of softer, yet very kind of effective way for self-improvement through microactions and self-love and positive community. Cool. Any questions at this point? Just let me know if you have any. If no, you can then, okay, here we go.
By the way, sorry for interruption. I will give you the microphone, which is also made in Finland.
Yes.
By the way, it would be nice if you use, there is a microphone.
Yeah.
Yes.
Any competition for UApp? So, was there any landscape when you've started? Any similar apps, any similar companies trying to do roughly the same thing?
Yeah, so there is this kind of company called Lyft, or they changed the name to Coach.me, which was more about micro, kind of doing these more, small steps and small actions. But it was a little bit more kind of, how would I say, numeric and very kind of this engineer-like, more of a kind of a to-do list type of a thing. And now I know there are quite a many habit creation apps that feel a little bit more like this to-do, tick in the box type of thing. So that's one thing. Obviously, I don't see these trackers as our competitors, because we're kind of in a little bit different space. But I think the biggest competitor for all the health players on the planet is, just the life and the couch and the fast food and all that kind of. I think there is enough room for all of us on this planet, because that's kind of the most difficult difficult competitor for everybody. Wow. So let's hop into growth hacking. So just to get a few round of hands. So how many of you are working with Telia of you? And how many are working on startups or something else? Wonderful. So wonderful balance. So I really hope this can be of help for everybody. So I think just the mindset of growth hacking it can be useful for big companies and for small companies. And if I was a big company, I would hire a growth hacker team immediately. If I was a startup entrepreneur, which I am, I would practice these, one way or another, depending on how many resources you have in your team. But let's jump into this. So I'll have kind of two parts of this. The first one is the kind of the principle of growth hacking, the way they teach it at 500 Startups. And the second one is sort of where you can find tools to help you do this. So let's go to the principles part first. So all of you have seen this kind of a hockey stick curve, right? it's kind of the wet dream of any entrepreneur. So first you do something, and then something happens, and up you go, like exponential growth. Everybody wants this, right? So many people often ask, like, so if this happened to you, like, what on earth happened right there, right on that curve that you did? And what they say in Silicon Valley, like, that this is not the good question to be asked. Don't ask what happened on the curve. Ask what on earth happened before, the exponential growth. What did you, what were the million things that you tried that didn't work? And what were the million things that you did after the growth started that helped you keep at the pace of the growth? And yeah, so this is kind of leads to the kind of revelation that growth is not actually a tactic. It's something that, you come up with when you're in your morning shower and you're like, bling, I know what we're gonna do. But it's rather a process, a very rigorous, actually pretty disciplined process of trial and error that leads to success. And this is a good mindset to have, that, it's not, there is no silver bullet for growth. It's actually a process that you have to kind of keep doing and doing and doing, while knowing that 95% of your growth efforts will probably fail, but that's part of the, kind of part of the game. Every startup has, well, everybody's, measuring, many things. Like big companies are measuring all kinds of things, and also startups are measuring many things. But what they teach in the Silicon Valley is that you should always have one metric that matters, one metric that is kind of something that the eyeballs of the company, everybody is staring at that same number. I'm pretty sure that would be very valuable for big companies as well. If, for example, for us as a startup, before we started to monetize, our one metric that mattered was monthly active users. That was not not downloads, not retention, not engagement, but monthly active users, which is kind of a combination of downloads and how well we're able to retain those customers. And now when we monetize, we're following the monthly revenue, which is kind of once again a combination of the whole funnel, so to say. Like if we manage to get enough users to keep them engaged, keep them happy, then some of them will turn into paying customers. So this is kind of just a good way also to kind of steer your thinking to the right direction. So if you don't have a one metric that matters with your team, try and come up with one, because it will kind of help the whole team to head to the same direction. Well, you've all seen funnels, right? All kinds of sales funnels and stuff like that. So every company has a customer acquisition funnel of some sort. This is something that they teach at 500 Startup. It's called Startup Metrics for Pirates, which you will understand in a bit why it is called in such a way. So there is always user acquisition of some sort, for example, downloads for us. Then there is user activation. In our case, does the user actually complete the onboarding journey and give us their email address? Then there is retention, whether the user retains, can we kind of keep the user in the app after 1 day, 1 week, 1 month, 6 months, 12 months, etc. Whether the users do referrals to their friends, so whether they kind of tell their friends, to come to the app, which obviously will result in user acquisition. And then last but not least, revenue, which parts of the users will turn into paying customers. And the reason why they call it Startup Metrics for Pirates is because they have R in the first letters, and this is probably the only thing you're going to remember from this talk. But B, then what was that Johnny Depp slide there? But anyway, so this is the kind of startup, the very typical startup, or just a funnel, customer acquisition funnel. So growth hacking is actually a little bit misleading name, even though they call it growth hacking. I would maybe call it rather like improvement hacking, just like improvement of every single level. It's not just growth, like meaning like more downloads or more top of the funnel, but better everything, any slice of the funnel. So the way growth hacking is being kind of taught and approached, and how we also do it in our team, is that you pick one of the slices of the funnel, say user acquisition in our case, and you start making hypotheses. And hypothesis can be something like Facebook ads increase user acquisition or increase downloads, or TV ads increase user acquisition, or some kind of other ad campaigns increase user acquisition. So you have these high-level hypotheses, what could improve this particular part of the funnel, in this case acquisition. It could be any other kind of slice of the funnel, say referral or revenue. Next up in the growth hacking process, you start, with your whole team, you start to come up with experiments for this, for this hypothesis. For example, if we're talking about this hypothesis that Facebook ads increase user acquisition, we could have experiments like an orange Facebook ad on Sunday increases user acquisition by this and this much, or green Facebook ad, or yellow Facebook ad, or yellow Facebook video, or you can come up with an unlimited amount of experiments that would you think would be worth trying out. And this is something, it's actually a pretty creative process that you can use the whole team's brains and efforts to get it together, and to get this long list of different experiments that you can run. And after that, it's about prioritizing the ones that you think have, are easiest to implement and have the biggest impact to this very metric. And then you start running the experiments. And you, what they teach at in Silicon Valley, that you should always have, start 4 experiments every week, 2 of which should bring results that very week. So it means that the size of these experiments is very small, right? They're small little experiments that you're running. If not where we're going to plan for 3 months and then we're going to implement it for 1 month and then we're going to run it for 6. No, it's small, growth hacking experiments all the time. And then what is very, very important is that you actually kind of have an idea of what the result of every experiment could be, kind of a hypothesis for every experiment, meaning that, for example, a certain Facebook ad, I have a hypothesis that it should bring me 15% more users than just the kind of the baseline user acquisition on any given day. So you should always have your best guess marked so that you can then measure it and see if you guessed right or wrong. So this is kind of the way, you just run the process. And in terms of, I'm going to go to the kind of a summary in a bit, but obviously, you might need some tools to get this, done. So I have a hot tip for you. Actually, 500 Startups has a lot material online for free. If this is a topic of interest for you, you should definitely go and look for, for example, they have this concept called Marketing Hell Week, where they teach, they have dozens of speakers on that week speaking of growth hacking, or distro videos, distribution, which is how to get more users. So if this is of interest for you, there's a lot of free material online, which I highly recommend. And it's crazy that they are just opening them to the world, but it is pretty amazing. Yeah, but I said, just to make a kind of this to wrap this thing up, I said the pace is very, very important. This is some, as I said, 4 experiments every week. 2 should give results within that week. Always to make a prediction of every experiment and measure it and see how that goes, and be prepared that 95% of the experiments will fail, because then 5% probably will. You will get the results that you wanted or better, and then you can kind of replicate that experiment once again into smaller experiments. And what I really like about this thing is that this is not a startup thing, right? This is for everybody. Like if I was a big company, I would have a small team doing just this, because I would, just to have allocate their time to figuring out small improvement like these, growth hacks for different areas of the business. Absolutely. For startups, this is a little bit trickier, because we know as startup entrepreneurs that, we don't have like excess resources laying around. No, like everybody is like working full time and kind of having their hands full. And this is kind of a role of its own. I have to say that, like, for example, after our next financing round, I'm gonna hire a growth hacker, like who actually is kind of a vertical role, working with everybody from marketing, from user acquisition, to product people, to business people, to figure out pricing and all of this. He or she is working with everybody and kind of running this experiment show. And as you saw, like, it's going to be this kind of a Excel game that requires a little bit disciplined working. It's not going to be doing itself, by itself. It needs somebody who is responsible. But I'm sure it pays off, because like some of the most successful Silicon Valley companies, or if not all of them, everybody's doing growth hacking in this kind of a lean way. And kind of the way, like probably you've heard of Eric Ries's Lean Startup, like the book and the model. This is exactly what it is. So you actually, you build stuff, you measure how it goes, you have the data, you learn, and then you do it again, over and over and over again. And as fast as you can, the faster you can do this, the better off you are. Cool. So this was the kind of the growth hacking as they teach it. So probably what you need is just the willingness, or yes or no, do I want to do growth hacking? Do I want to figure out the growth recipes for my company or for my team? Yes or no? If yes, this is a very good method to do that. And all you need is kind of your teams, how would I say, kind of yes, like everybody has to support this effort and say that this is important, we want to do this, because it needs everybody's feedback more or less to get create the first experiment, backlogs and everything. And then you just need somebody to kind of make sure that this process is running smoothly and moving onwards. So that was it. If you want to download UApp, you can find me at Nelli Elina there. And other than that, I'm so grateful for your attention and for your presence. And if you have any questions, let me know.
Yes. Mm-hmm. It feels like you will have a new competitor soon.
That's good.
Is it done? Yeah, it is. Nelli, can you talk a bit about maybe the most unexpected result of a growth hacking experiment you've seen while building UApp?
Let me think about that. Yeah, so for example, like the latest Facebook like paid acquisition test that we did, like for example, that even though our maybe average user age is 35, like so 80% of our users are women, and the average women of 35 years old, maybe with some children or no. So this is kind of our kind of average user.
My wife.
Yeah, and the lowest CPA, cost per acquisition, was actually for the ladies that were over 55 years old, like even over 60 years old. So like those the kind of the ads and the things that we tested were like for ladies who were much like older than that. So that was one like very recent, like okay, like interesting type of a moment. So now we can kind of do more experiments also to that crowd that we didn't even target in the first place. So, wow. For example, like that.
So basically, it kind of how to say gives you the what you said, that just rehearse and try, and then you never know what comes out of the results.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, we have a lady over there, please.
So I wanted to ask about your experience. So as I understand, you started from business to business with eucalyptus.
Yeah, that was my personal
your personal story, and now you're in very consumer space.
Yeah.
So what's the biggest difference or biggest surprise for you personally?
Well, that's a really good question. It's funny, actually. We're now moving, it's still a secret, but we're moving back a little bit. Kind of some of the part of the money in the future is going to come from B2B. So now we're kind of going back there a little bit too. But I have to say, like, consumer is difficult. It's really, really difficult. B2B is difficult in its own way as well. But consumers, we know, like, if we do not like an app that we downloaded, you give it maybe 5 seconds of your time and then you delete it. Like, nobody owes us anything. So we have to kind of nail every single part of that funnel, right? From the getting users somebody's attention on the App Store or somewhere else, then having them download and sign up and blah blah blah. So it's just a very, very tough space, and just you lose a lot of customers just because there was something off, and you can't get them back probably. So it's just that was kind of it makes you very humble. Let's put it that way when you're working with consumers, but in a good way, because it's also like good to understand that how would I say, like this kind of, yes, I will build it and they will come mentality doesn't work, right? You have to earn every single user of yours. So I think it's a very good mentality to have, that you don't take anything for granted.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Yes, you can throw it. Very good. Here we go, sir.
Thank you for this great presentation. At one point you mentioned that you got asked the question, what have you been doing previously? So you said that you are about to hire a growth hacker as soon as you get something done, but what have you been doing so far that didn't work?
Yeah, like you mean like in terms of without growth hacker or just in general? Yeah. Like, well, that's something obviously like, well, there are so many things that, startups are about. It's a lot of failure.
95% list.
Oh yeah, exactly. It's amazing how many Mordors you have to go through in order to kind of, get there. But there are so many things in terms of, the first company that we founded, Health Puzzle, which was more about data aggregation and the better, more personalized recommendation. There we had, we had the good goal of helping people live happier and healthier, but the means were it didn't work the way we wanted. Like we had to change, and we had to change the team because, we had all the way, we had, bioinformatics people who knew about genetic data because we wanted to aggregate genetic data. And when we changed the course of the company from data aggregation and analysis to behavior change, all of a sudden we have this amazing, professional, for example, this bioinformatician that we, kind of didn't need anymore. Like these kinds of things that are unexpected, but and obviously horrible to kind of fire somebody whom you dearly appreciate and love to work with. But all of these things, these kinds of things that you kind of tough moments and sort of mistakes, but once again, we couldn't have predicted that. We just had to, learn it as we did and built and figured out that this was our first hypothesis was wrong. We had to change it. So, yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And for the final question of this round, before we start the panel, here you go, sir.
So you have been telling us a lot about growth hacking,
yeah.
But Telia started in Estonia in the 90s,
yeah.
And probably the customer acquisition went the same way.
Yeah.
So nobody knew about growth hacking. So the stupid question is how the growth hacking actually differs from just a simple customer acquisition process that any company has been running for many, many years. What's so special about growth hacking? Or maybe just a fancy new word?
Yeah, that's a really good question. It's something that obviously, even though if you have a very good product market fit, obviously probably, well, I'm sure Telia is making all kinds of growth hacks all the time, obviously called marketing and all kinds of different improvements. It's just maybe for some companies, they just get so stuck into the kind of the rails that they're riding on that, they kind of stop doing these small little aggressive, experiments. So that might be the difference, because for startups, the definition of a startup by Steve Blank, which is one of these startup gurus, is that it's a temporary organization searching for scalable, repeatable business model. So, which means that you don't really have a business model yet, right? Everything is uncertain, and you have to keep experimenting until you find it, and as quickly as you can, because time is running out and money is running out and everything. For big companies, you find your scalable, predictable and business model. So you don't, the urgency is kind of, oh, we found it, yes, we're there. But then again, if you get too kind of comfortable with it, you might lose some other opportunities where growth hacking once again helps.
Okay. Well, I can tell you that Nelli will be staying here on the stage, but since she has been working now for half an hour, I think you have kind of earned a little break, small break. So let's give a round of applause to Nelli.
Thank you.
But Do not go too far, because you may take a seat.
Thank you.
And we will be not here just the two of us. We're going to continue with a little panel, and it is a really honor to welcome here next to gentlemen. And as mentioned earlier, we might find the right sauce or the right ingredients for growth hacking or not. We're going to find out, but I would like to call this the experts panel. Three of kind people are here, and we're going to start off with little questions, and of course, as the dialogue moves on, feel free to also ask questions. I can share this magnificent kit, David Hasselhoff, magnificent clock with you once again. So, but besides Nelli, I would like to welcome you here with a round of applause, a gentleman who has been in the IT business, in technology, 15 plus years. He has been the CEO, and recently he has founded a new company, a startup. Basically, really simplifiedly said, he's making systems more efficient, taking bigger systems into smaller pieces, and this is how RebelRoam helps people to travel without borders, with a really easy using internet. So please welcome here the founder and the CEO of RebelRoam. Let's give a round of applause to Henri Ploom. Here you go, Henri. And of course, I think one of the gentlemen, thanks to whom we are actually standing here in the VUNK hub and here having the first VUNK Talks, the gentleman who was behind actually creating together with a great team, the VUNK itself, a couple of years ago. Today he's responsible, the head of business to clients in Telia, and he's standing for the best customer experience and offerings. And of course, Telia people, you know him really well, but those of you who are looking, and those of you who are here as guests, please welcome here, of course, Holger Haljand. Give it a round of applause to Holger.
Thanks.
So, since Nelli has talked for a while now, I would like to start off with a gentleman. And first off, Holger. We have talked today, it's kind of a day of significance that we have here Telia, and we have startups, and we are partners. But I would like to hear your point of view from Telia perspective. Where do you see the partnership? What's the philosophy right now when it comes to partnerships, Telia, and startups? Where do you see the position of VUNK and Telia?
Thanks. To summarize why we started it because we saw that I think the growth hacking is kind of a good example, and also what Nelli mentioned, that consumer is damn difficult. That to get some good proposition and value for the consumers, it is very hard. And due to a company growing for 20-25 years, has got to a point when it's actually kind of stuck. Where to go further? It's growing big enough to be slow and kind of losing the momentum. So what we need is growth hacking, and what we need is kind of partnerships to create this new value and next kind of level for a corporation like Telia. So this is why we started it, and we have been doing it for 2 years now, and really created great startups and great partnerships, and we see that this is maybe not the only way, but one of the possibilities for corporations to really make themselves faster and get new ideas and new kind of ways of doing things, and also new solutions and value for the customers. That is so damn difficult.
Sounds logical. But Henri, now about growth hacking, in your experience for the last 15 years, what do you see? What are more efficient solutions? Is it looking for more scalability, something for everyone, or are you more of a man, let's find a niche market and let's focus on that and everybody's happy in the smaller section of the market? What's your standpoint? Are you looking for scalability, or rather little niche and work on the efficiency in the smaller market?
Yeah, I think it's all starts with discovering what kind of issues are there to be solved. and it's a matter of luck if it's big enough or not. So what we have done actually in the past 2 years, we have pivoted several times. There have been very lucrative opportunities which seem to be bigger than life, and then tend to be a disappointment later on. But companies have issues all the time, and it's just learning by interacting with them and understanding what are the problems, what are the root causes. You might one day catch the aha moment, and then it kind of starts to grow automatically. So if you ask me if it's an engineered growth trying to squeeze out something from the market, being better than the competitors by a margin which enables you to become a successful company, then we have a different point of view. We think that we should be really outstanding in order to earn the trust and business of our customers, kind of approach.
Okay. Nelli, when you started out, do you share the vision of Henri, or was it like, okay, I want to make 5 million people happy? Or was it more like, I feel like, yeah, there is something missing in the market, this special niche. There are a lot of self-help, as you said, but there is not the one thing that actually can help.
Yeah, so I think we started with this just realizing how big the pain is. I think we still have exactly the same kind of big goal of helping people live happier and healthier, meaning be on the preventative health care side in a way. Like, how can we help people live happier and healthier, and not just, because at least in Finland, unfortunately, the healthcare system is still pretty much the sick care system, right? Which is kind of a problem that too many people just, there's not money and resources and effective solutions for health advancement and disease prevention. So we kind of were like there is a huge misbalance here, and we need to find solutions that are scalable and cost effective and effective for this. And I think that's where what we started with, is this kind of the question that how can we help people truly live happier and healthier in a sustainable way. And even though the solution has changed over the years, like from the very database analysis, personalized recommendations, to these mindful micro actions and a positive community, it's still the same questions. I think always, like, what I recommend for entrepreneurs or aspiring entrepreneurs, to kind of have the question first, and then you'll figure your way to solve it. But if you start by finding the perfect solution first, it's not necessarily good, because there are so many solutions to one problem, right? So that was maybe like ours. Like, we knew that it wasn't even like this, yeah, we can help 5 million people. We were like, this world needs a paradigm shift. So it's like a billion or nothing type of a thing. So that was our approach.
Okay. Well, of course, changing the habits of people is basically the biggest challenge. As you said, you have enough competitors such as Couch and and so on and so on. Maybe Holger, you can light us. When a couple of years ago you started VUNK, is this also this kind of a shift of a paradigm or a change of behavior, a thinking of Telia itself and bigger corporations? What do you see? Is this also kind of a game changer in the philosophy?
I totally agree with Nelli that we are actually also looking for partnerships in that same kind of perspective, and also we have these investments and everything looking at the core problem to be solved, and also the passion and the meaning and the purpose behind it.
Mm-hmm.
That is like the sole most important thing that drives change. Yeah, you can do all kinds of things to kind of marginally grow and improve, but what is the game-changing thing? And it has to have a purpose and meaning, that really you feel your heart with it, and you know that this will create this monumental change. And this is what drives us in VUNK as well, and that's why we created this, because we know that in this everyday thunderstorm or twister that we have in kind of this corporate world and the competition in the market and everything, we don't even time to think about or kind of create that kind of mindset. And that's why we needed to have something totally separate that really would have the time and effort and focus and also the kind of help from the partners and the startups and to create that mindset and then bring it into the corporation and try to change the corporation bit by bit from the inside, kind of, and really driven by giving this purpose and mindset to create change and monumental change and really like meaningful change.
Risto.
Henri.
I was thinking of one gentleman right now. Henri. Henri, there's a strong connection, Risto, and also in startup world. Henri, question about changes. How much you have changed your kind of, I would say not philosophy, but also something in between over the 15 years in the IT field? If you make a comparison with Nelli's, like in every week, try out something new to get more customers. Your business is more based on maybe more business to business when we're talking about RebelRoam. How much do you do this kind of changes or trying out new things, or this is a totally different world when it comes to business to business?
Yeah, so we have a rather long sales cycle, and user acquisition is really not our thing. But recently, 3 weeks ago, we hired at once the whole team of online marketing, sales development, and account executive. So coupled that with a freshly hired product manager, and now waiting and hoping to see great results.
Are you still waiting? Or hoping?
Yeah, I see the clock is our enemy. Like, see.
No, there is enough time. Don't worry.
Seconds are passing by. So
you would like to call the account
so it's a new thing for us to build the kind of more methodical way of how do we find the new customers, how we get in front of them, not by just reaching out, but also by generating demand. Reflecting back regarding my history, it has always been like a sales role is something that in a typical B2B business you do from end to end, kind of. You reach out to the new customer or prospect or lead, and then you finish and close the sales. At least in Estonia or in the Baltic countries, this has been the case because companies are oftentimes very small. Also, there are not so many people in the sales department. And the marketing role is to organize nice events, like, for example, this here. Because there is a budget that needs to be spent, and it's great to network and have drinks and
Holger would like to respond to that.
So yeah, for me personally, building up the sales development team will be a big challenge for us as a company, because you can read all the books, but then when you actually have the people on board and they are looking at you, what do you want me to do? Then it's be like me. No, don't be like me. that doesn't scale.
Okay. But you brought the kind of importance of the team into the play.
Yes.
So maybe questions, whoever wants to answer first. Is it a little bit controversial in the startup world that we're always looking for more efficient solutions, but in Estonia and Finland sometimes we have problems with communication in the team itself, although if we are trying to provide something for the world which is more efficient, actually the team itself sometimes is lacking of efficiency when it comes to, or am I overjudging? I'm just asking, is it the problem in Estonia and in Finland because we're a little bit modest and maybe we're not that talkative, or maybe I'm just imagining things?
Maybe lazy?
Whoever wants to answer.
I think, like, I think Harvard was studying this, at least for startups. Like, what is the number one reason why startups fail? Is not, the product market fit didn't, wasn't fine, or there was not enough money or customers. It was because the team somehow, didn't come along, or disagreed, and hence split. So this is a true problem, right? In every team, right? How do you solve problems which are inevitable? Every team has problems because you're working so closely with hard challenges, so you will have these problems. So it's kind of good to, at least we've learned, like through mistakes, literally through mistakes, that we just need to have this open and honest and kind of like communication, and we have certain set of agreed values on how we work within the company, which is actually the same values that we have in the app, but still, like, and if somebody is not working and acting according to these values, like, everybody has the kind of not obligation, but the can say that, hey, actually, you're not exactly working according to our values. Obviously that the responsibility is in the founders and leaders of the company, but still, but it's something that is, I think, is extremely important to prepare for. And one, if I could do one thing differently, from what I've learned from the past years, is that if things get really kind of tough, and we, like, there's clearly some dynamics issues, have somebody external, outsider, kind of neutral, to come and help, because that can have a huge impact. Like, I really hope we had understood that a little bit, before, and I know many startups do this. So that's something that very many don't talk about, but it's actually very, very useful to have somebody from the kind of neutral grounds come and help and listen and, solve it out.
Gentlemen, any comments?
Yeah, like I mentioned before, so we did really more than doubled the size of the team 3 weeks ago. So it's actually quite interesting, like in a big company to hire 5 people at a time is no big deal. You do it maybe every day. Although I have probably fired more people than hired in the past, but
but maybe it is a good thing, because then you haven't wasted their time and they haven't wasted their time.
Yeah, but I think the important thing is that that's actually you cannot like measure people the same way as you measure your customer acquisition, because they are not numbers. So you have to really look into if the person is someone. So, for example, for us, the major criteria for hiring someone is to try to think if this is the person who passes the famous airport waiting area test. So, is it someone with whom I would like to sleep in the same bed because that's how the hotel decided to set it up, or spend a long time in a car or whatever, just is it someone with whom I really would enjoy being together with for an extended period of time? And I think this has served us quite well. So we also value diversity. So our team is now made of people from 3 nationalities, different cultures even, and I see the sparkle in their eyes, and we are very excited about it as well. So this kind of diversity in the team does allow us not to get boring corporate.
And makes people more humble, maybe also more understandable.
I don't know about that. We should ask from the people how they feel about it.
Are they here?
Yes, they are.
Where are you?
They're actually located here. They have an office in this corner.
Okay, in the office corner. But Holger, any comments? Any comments to that?
Yeah, I'm a strong believer of a people-first kind of company or strategy, and this is how actually we have created companies now with VUNK as well. The number one criteria when we see these people coming together, creating ideas and really trying to solve problems is the team. How does it work together? Does it have the passion? Does it really have the drive to create something really big? And how do they actually match and work together? And we see that criteria is the most important one, because everything else can change. But this is very hard to change. You see that there is a really good kind of business fit or market fit or whatever, and the problem and solution, but the team is kind of not able to deliver it, then there is nothing you can do. On the other hand, if it totally sucks the idea and the team is really great, they can figure out something else and they will succeed. So that is definitely the mindset that we all should have when starting up or running big corporation. It doesn't matter.
Exactly, and it's actually with that passion that you mentioned is that with which you get through those, you know, hard times and the mordors. Like, yeah, because if you don't have that, if you don't really care about the kind of, you don't have the eye on the big goal and the big whatever it is for you, like, you know, you will quit because it's hard.
Yes.
Maybe meanwhile, do we have any questions from the crowd? You can ask whatever, basically, about hacking, the growth. Maybe if there is no questions right now from the crowd, I will continue. But feel free to raise the hand, and I will throw my big watch. Maybe can you tell us a little your kind of a feeling in the marketplace? What are the areas that are totally unfulfilled? Maybe some of the viewers online are watching right now. In this market there is a huge gap between, as you saw, for instance, like there is something really missing in the market. What are the areas, Holger, you think we are missing something really big?
Well, what I personally am really keen on and keeping an eye on the industry is fintech and payments, and combined with telco. I see that we have had this kind of payment industry is like 100 years old, and it hasn't developed anything like in the past 20 or 30 years. So there needs to be a shift there, and that's in like two areas. One is really the usability and creating something totally different for the user experience wise. And the other is kind of the underlining ingredients or components or fundamentals of payments. I mean, like shift into a totally different technology or principle. For example, blockchain or something totally different that is not controlled by the governments or the banks or some big institutions, that is like free, because we see all the industries that have now been like skyrocketing in the startup world are the ones who are like crowdsourced or somehow created by the people and shared by the people and growth by the by the people. So I see really a huge potential in the payment area. Blockchain is touching that very closely, and there could be huge potential there, and I'm really kind of trying to be a part of that change, because that will be monumental really, and create something totally new and much better for the people.
So basically, as Mr. Neivelt has said, basically we are looking of why not telco companies? Basically, your main mission or people have their kind of awareness of the telco company can change actually. Why not Telia can become a payment company in one part or in one area?
And a lot of telcos, yes, and we have tried, a lot of telcos have tried, there are a lot of failures in the market, and there are a lot of failures to come, but we see that we still will try, keep on trying, and maybe the 100th time we'll hit the nail and we'll create something. Maybe it's a timing issue, maybe it's the some other infrastructure that is blocking us, I don't know, maybe there needs to be some additional technology shift or some new possibilities or ways in the technology, the development and innovation area, but it definitely will change. That's my strong belief.
Okay.
And we want to be a part of that change.
Henri, what have you seen in the last year, especially maybe you can talk a little about RebelRoam, and then why did you set up this kind of a company? Where did you see the problem? For instance, when we go to another kind of a area, not payments, but roaming.
Yes, yeah, indeed. Initially 2 years ago, me and Kaido, we saw this big problem with roaming and how reliant nowadays everything is on data, especially since I think iPhone was invented. So you are totally lost while traveling without your access to the internet, for example, nowadays. You can't really do anything, so you rely on it. And two years ago, still the very high roaming costs was a very big issue. So we started with that, but it was quite clear that that this is a commodity market. So racing towards zero and trying to catch a dropping ball perhaps is not the best or sustainable business idea. So we did then reorient during actually the VUNK program. Refocused ourselves on looking, okay, where else can we tackle the similar problem with the skill sets that we have, and we understood that okay, even if roaming is not in the play, there are the unsatiable desire for connectivity is present everywhere. So
especially in moving objects.
Yeah, especially in the moving vehicles on board of buses, trains, or airplanes, and you see a lot of growth there. More and more airlines are introducing Wi-Fi, but the quality is really not there. The user experience is really not comparable to what you are used to otherwise. Yeah? So we thought about it, what could be the implication for those transportation companies if they could actually provide better service. Would this be a competitive advantage for them? And yes, the answer was actually that this is what our customers, our revenue source is telling us, that if we would provide better access to internet, we would have more of their loyalty, more of referrals and incremental business out of that. So that's what we do. We help transportation and travel companies nowadays all across Europe, actually in 38 countries, to provide awesome Wi-Fi user experience on board of moving vehicles.
So basically you're making a new standard in the world. For instance, if you used to use the mobile right here, roaming really well, everything works like charm, also at home maybe, and then when you go on a trip, then it's like whoever gets first on the bus, he gets all the Wi-Fi or something like that. So basically you're helping to kind of make it more equal possibilities and easy to use Wi-Fi.
Yeah, so there are like, I could talk hours probably about it, but I think what is important is to answer then your original question, is that there are lots of business opportunities whenever you can substantially improve something or substantially reduce the costs of doing something. And what could be better if you can combine those two, improve something and make it less expensive. And once you can crack that, I think the only question then is remaining is how to execute it.
Nelli, totally from another point of view, coming back to your presentation, you said this kind of a rule that try out something new all the time, experiment.
Yep.
Don't put too much effort on it, make it measurable, really short period of time. So what would be the next step when we're finalizing here the growth hacking? So maybe you have found the genie in a bottle.
Yeah.
This kind of a marketing thing worked in Instagram. Should you now go crazy with it, put all your eggs in this? What is the balance? Is there some kind of a Pareto balance, 80-20? Okay, experiment 4 times, 4 times, 4 times. One works like charm. How much effort should you put into that one working element versus you kind of get
yes,
the idea?
Yes, that's a very good question. I think I said, like, most of the experiments fail, so you have to figure out the ones that work and then kind of multiply them, like have kind of further hypotheses based on that one that worked pretty well, and kind of work onwards from there. Obviously, you should always have something new coming up, like new hypotheses, not just work on the ones that work like charm. In terms of growth hacking, obviously for all the mobile startups, what we are kind of, in terms of the growth, if we talk about user acquisition, like, one of the things that everybody's chasing after is to find, a balance between, how much does it cost to acquire a user on Facebook or Google or whatever, and have that sum to be smaller than the lifetime value of the user. So when you've cracked that, then you can have kind of this kind of a pattern for eternal growth in a way, that you can, yes, if you put in, you know, $2, you'll get 4 back, and you can just multiply. Obviously, everybody's looking for that, and once you get there, you still want to kind of get more out, you know, kind of more money and with less cost. Like, you know, you can always keep improving. And by the way, one thing about this growth hacking is still good to remember, even though my examples were about user acquisition, it can literally be any part of that, you know, the funnel. So I could have taken the revenue part as my example, where we think, you know, for example, right at this moment where, you know, if you have 2 people installing UApp, you might have your UApp looking a little bit different, because we're A/B testing different things all the time. Like it's a growth hack as well for, you know, revenue, you know, generation, for example. So it's just good to keep in mind that, you know, it's not only the growth you know, as in user acquisition that we're talking about.
Okay, Holger, from the VUNK and Telia point of view, what do you see? Is the experimenting the right thing to do? What should be the portion of the bigger picture? Is there some kind of a golden rule, or everything is tailor-made?
The problem with the corporation is that it doesn't allow room for error, and that is the fundamental problem of a corporation, why they are not kind of distinguishing out or being standing out or creating something really new all the time, because there you have made everything as efficient as possible, you know, and that does not allow room for error. So that is another reason why we needed some other form of experimentation, or a body or an organization that is allowed and doesn't have these borders. And I definitely support that, and I agree that we should experiment more to get the actual results valuable enough. But in a corporation, yeah, and that's what we're trying to do with VUNK, that actually change that. But in a sense, it's related also to you said, what is a startup? Startup is searching for a scalable business model. What is a corporation? It's executing on a scalable business model. So these are 2 different models.
Yep.
And we don't want to be a startup. You know, the corporation wants to execute on a sustainable business model. We have that. We have found that. We're doing a great job on it. We're earning money. So you have to be efficient there. So not to mix these 2 things.
Not growing.
We're growing. We've been growing for the past few years. So definitely we should keep these things a bit separate, because startup mindset totally will break a corporation down, and it will fail miserably. So that's why I think our model, at least up to now, has proven good, that we create a separate organization that has different rules and has different resources and kind of for different focuses, and gets that opportunity to search for the business models, search for the partnerships, experiment, fail, and then when they have found something to scale, corporate is a perfect place to do that, because we have 1 million customers already, and we can, you know, have the marketing channels, we have the budgets and everything. So this kind of balance seems to be a good recipe at this stage where we are for corporate, how to tackle that problem.
Maybe for the final, I would ask, since as we started off, we were looking for the golden nugget or the grande finale, like what is the secret? And I would like to each one of you to answer separately, starting from you, Henri. When you have already kind of a, let's say, you have the idea, you have the team, and you have kind of reached some kind of a level of sales, you have the revenue, and you have customers. So what is the next thing to focus on? What is the one most important thing to focus on to get the next growth level? And I'm talking about startups who already have this kind of a ground floor. They kind of have something figured out. They're not quite there yet. What is the next focus they should have? Is it customer acquisition? Is it team kind of education? What is it?
Well,
only one.
Yeah. Well, the only one thing that I am worried about is that it's very easy to grow from little to something that is double as big. Yeah? But at some certain point in the future, I can predict a day when when to have amazing growth, we would need to sign up like, I don't know, 100 airlines per day. And it seems like, wow, you know, how in the hell we are going to do that? So it's, I think it's to keep in mind that, of course, you need to celebrate the successes that you have at the moment, but to keep in mind that actually this is nothing. This is nothing compared to what you need to do next. And you need to outperform yourself literally every day, every morning. You have to be 10 times better than yesterday.
I think Nelli's app can help that.
Welcome.
How much was it?
It's free.
It's free. Okay, so basically be your better self every day, never be on the comfort level.
Yeah,
Nelli.
don't take it granted what that yesterday's successes mean anything. Yeah.
Okay. Nelli, you?
I would say that first of all, you know, understand what your one metric that matters is like, and secondly, like just prioritize your efforts so that you can use your resources wisely, because that's what.
What's your metric?
Our metric is now revenue at this point, because now we have something that you can purchase in app. It's like the app is free and the most of the content is free, but you know there's something that's something that we are now focusing on B2C and B2B as well. So.
Okay.
So, and now we're prioritizing things that, you know, help that. Obviously we cannot, you know, obviously we have to keep the users happy. It's not just about making money, but, you know, it's just like, you know, but, you know, now it's very important for the continuation of the company to make money too.
Okay. And Holger? I think, I know it's a really difficult question to you, but...
No, it's a very easy question actually. Because, for example, if you have, for consumer perspective where I am, what is that matters? The experience that they get, that is that matters. So after you have the problem solution fit and you have the product market fit, then you have to create the best possible experience for the customer. Because how will you grow? You will go only based on what the customer thinks of you and how he likes it and what does it do for them. So the user experience is the single most important thing to focus on. Not revenue, not anything else, because then it doesn't matter. You don't need to earn anything, because first of all, you have to create an experience and the need for the user to be referred, to be talked about, to be used, and all efforts should go to that. And then when you have that magic kind of feeling.
Can you specific, Holger, that one metric in the whole client experience, what would it be? Would it be something visual? Would it be the time? Would it be the simplicity? What would be the number one thing in your metric in the customer experience? If you would have to choose only one, my friend, only one, what would it be?
Love. We will measure love.
Oh, that was cheesy, Holger. That was cheesy.
If the customer loves your solution, if they love the service, they will love you.
I wanted to squeeze something out, but it's just love. Now we should all hold hands. No, but I liked your diplomatic answer, but I think what we can kind of assume and bring all together from this panel is that you all had a little bit different answers, and there is no one kind of a golden answer except you love everything. But basically it depends really on the company, on the people, on the team. It could be that, yeah, we were looking for the golden nugget, but you kind of got the cliche answers right now. It really depends on. But what I really do like what Henri mentioned is be the better of yourself of the next day. Maybe Bradley Cooper can share us also the magical pill one day. But anyway, really huge thanks. I think we can really make a round of applause to these wonderful panelists. Thank you, Nelli. Thank you, Henri. Thank you, Holger.
Thank you.
We are going to continue, and we have so much interesting, fun stuff to share with you, because right now we talked about, well, what about the experience and what about the new stuff you should try out, and what of the things that succeeds, how to continue with them. Now, VUNK has been alive here in Estonia for 2 years. And when we look at the bigger picture of Telia and Telia company, not only here in Estonia, but all over the world, we're going to find out that actually Telia for the whole world has a special division. And this division is called DivisionX. Could it be the X-Files? What's happening there in the DivisionX? Let's find out where the smart money goes and what is the bigger vision for DivisionX in Telia. We have here for the next minutes, I would kindly welcome here the investments manager from Sweden, Rebecka Vredin. Let's give a round of applause to Rebecka.
Hello guys. Yep, I think I can manage. I hope you are not too tired by now. After all, it's Friday. It's so nice to be here with all of you and in this really nice office. I'm representing the Telia investment team. We are a part of DivisionX in Telia company, just so you know where I am in the organization. And this is our true belief. For a successful transition to a new gen telco, access to external innovation is a must. And what we do at Telia Investment is that we work to support Telia's journey to become new generation telco. And we do this because we have to. We have to stay relevant in the eyes of our customers. And there are only a few needs of our customers that we can actually take care of in-house. So that's why partnerships are so strategically important to us. And investments for us is a way to maximize the value of these partnerships. So let me introduce to you the investment team. We have Nils, manager of this team. He has long experience from telco and corporate venture capital, and we also have Johan, that has been with Telia for more than 10 years, and me. I've been at various positions within Telia for 3 years approximately, and I've been with the investment team for 1 month now. So what are we doing during the days? We are, first of all, we are out and about and scouting and networking and meeting with startup companies and growth companies and co-investors. We also, we are responsible for the investment processes and the projects where we invest. And we also spend our time supporting our portfolio companies. That's what we are doing. So why do we invest? At Telia Company, we are constantly working with innovation and to be able to provide to our customers something more than just connectivity. And as I said, this is not something that we can do alone. We need partners in this. And working with innovative companies can be done in different ways. For example, we can work with the distribution partnerships, and such as when we offer our customers vast services such as Spotify or insurance solutions or security solutions and that kind. And we are constantly looking for the next vast star at Telia Company. And here we can leverage our distribution channels to and offer that to these partners. But besides selling these products in our channels, Telia Company does not add anything to this product that the company is selling. And this is different if you compare to our Telia Sense and our Telia Zone product that we launched last year. There we can actually together with the partners, the partners can add something to the service we are delivering to our customers. For example, in the Telia Sense product, that is our connectivity car solution, there the functionality for the customers becomes even better when we add more and more partners. And then we also, of course, we have the accelerator initiatives and the labs and this that we engage in. And we are here to meet our future partners and to support digital growth initiatives because that's very strategically important to us. And also, we get a lot of energy, positive energy and power from being engaged in these initiatives that we can bring back into Telia company and to support our in-house innovation. And along these different kind of partnerships, we have Telia investments to maximize the value from these partnerships. So, what can Telia do for you guys as a startup company? Well, to be honest, in the initial phase, Telia and Telia's process set could easily kill a startup company. So that's why we have to stay on sort of an arm's length distance we can support with industry expertise and we can support with financially up until the inflection point. That's where we can add value by our scale and our assets. We have more than 23 million subscribers, and we have loads of customer insights and data. And we also have a wide distribution network that so that we can reach all these customers. And after the inflection point, we can help the company to really take off through a partnership by being a solid business partner, by giving the company market reach through our, and not only in our Nordic and Baltic markets, that is our footprint. We also have a network with operators outside our footprints in other markets. And we know that for tech companies today, the focus is not to stay in just the Nordics and the Baltics. It's to go worldwide beyond this. That's very important. We can also assist in raising additional funding through our VC network. And of course, we also want to help and participate in a successful exit process. And this is our portfolio, the companies we have today, where we have invested. Firstly, it's eBiller, and eBiller is offering life cycle management for customer hardware. And eBiller is a perfect example where we have in the plan to help them to go beyond our core markets through the operator alliance that we are a part of. We also have Soundtrack Your Brand, that is a streaming solution, music streaming solution for B2B, that is Spotify Business. We have Spotify. Spotify have partnership with more than 40 telcos worldwide, and we had a partnership with Spotify pretty early on, and we're still doing things with them. Springworks, that has participated in our connected car solution. And Sound Industries, lastly, that offers the headphones and speakers through the Marshall brand and also their own brands. Maybe you have heard of Urban Ears. And Sound is a good example where we can leverage on our distribution network in end of stores. So we can add value to them by offering their products in our stores. And we also can bundle their products with our customer offerings. And we also have some preferred criteria that we work with when we invest, that we communicate. And that is that we prefer to not be the sole institutional investors. We would rather invest with someone else. We want to invest in growth stage companies with a proven product and a sustainable business model. The company should be able to do alone on a standalone basis, that is without us. But still, of course, we want a strategic partnership, but we don't want to be the only customer to the company. And our typical ownership share is around 10 to 20%. This can, of course, vary a lot, but that's the typical range. And we typically also want a board seat so that we can be there, be at the company, and contribute with industry expertise. And so, but besides, those are the preferred criteria. But what are we looking for? What kind of companies are we looking for when we do the screening and when we are out and about networking? We are looking for disruptive technologies and attractive business models. And as I've talked a lot about here today, we are looking for strategic partnerships as well. But maybe the most important, as the panel talked about here, it's about the people. We are looking for outstanding entrepreneurs. And I'm sure we have a lot of that in the room here today. So I'm looking forward to meet with you later during the mingle. And that was it for me. And I wonder if you have any questions while I'm standing here. Otherwise, you can take the questions afterwards. I'll be around here, so we can talk, and I can explain how we work and how we talk to different kind of companies.
I think some of us might have these really specific questions. They don't want to share it in the wider audience.
Okay,
maybe,
but that's that's perfectly okay. And you can also email me afterwards if you.
No, but definitely we will have afterwards. We will have mingling time and networking time. And if it's okay with you, Rebecka,
yeah,
we will have the question afterwards during our networking time. But definitely remember her, because this is where the smart money is, in case you're from the startup world. And Rebecka, I do know that we will have still one more presentation to do, and we are going to limit the question time, but during the networking time, feel free to have as many questions as possible. Right now, I think we can make a round of applause to Rebecka.
Thank you.
Thanks. So in about 15-20 minutes, you have all the time in the world to ask the questions and get into specifics. But to finalize the day, our afternoon, I wouldn't say day, to finalize the afternoon, I would like to welcome here two really well-known people here at VUNK, because they are the heartbeats and the blood in the veins. They have been here from the first day of the start of VUNK, and right now they're giving us the message and mission of VUNK. Of course, I'm talking about Kristi Saaremets and Peets. Let's have a round of applause. What's cooking?
Look, it's still ticking. I'm really glad to stand here. I think I see all the friends here who have participated earlier in one of our events, and also most probably around one of those 6,000 people, some person is actually participated from our earlier events.
Yes,
previously.
so 6,000 comes from that we have live viewers today, and we have peaked almost 7,000 views by now. So hey guys everywhere else. Clicker.
Yeah, that is the most important thing.
We are the ones separating you from the networking part, so we promise to be quick.
So, like Nelli talked previously about experiments, we have done experiments on our own for 2 years. And mainly those experiments have been with those people and teams who have been participated. And we are really, really glad that we have had so many nice teams. But it's actually time to go forward. We have had really good pitches on stage, and we have had really good teams who at the moment here have really good valuation. So we have proven our point, and we want to actually go further to pivot in one sense. What we are standing here and what we want to announce is that you have a great opportunity, whether you have participated previously in one of our events, or those of you who are looking and have a team or have a product on a market, then we are looking at those teams who are more mature to participate in a partnership program with Telia. We are looking 3 different focus areas more precisely. One of those areas is IoT, smart cities, more concrete. We have really good testbed in Tartu, and we have also stakeholder who is really interested of finding new partnerships and startups with who to work with. Thomas, who is head of our IoT area. If you have any questions later on, then please talk with Thomas. Then secondly, we have e-commerce. We want to understand how we can make new customer experiences in digital environments. And we have also a stakeholder, Kati, who is head of e-commerce. And last but not least, most importantly, my personal favorite, wellness.
And who is head of that?
There's no head, I'm just me. So in wellness, we are looking how we can connect the data, what we have in third-party applications and local markets and players here, so that those people who are trying to be more healthy and fulfilling life know how to do it.
And similar to past years, we are not doing it alone. We partnered up with Startup Wise Guys, and we have great partners from Espen. And so we are somehow a startup figuring out what to do, but then our good partners are backing us up. Thank you. So so we can do even greater things. And today also you heard from Rebecka that we have also support from group side. So we are not only a small startup anymore, I might say. We have validated. So now it's the revenue thing, what Nelli talked about. So actually, why should you work with us? We have this professional value proposal, but I would like to address one thing, and one thing the most is that we are willing to go into a pilot with the startup, and we are looking for collaboration. So the whole idea behind applying is to have a real business case on the market as soon as possible. And we are pushing that, and hopefully this will prove the point of working together with smaller ones, because they are much quicker. Of course, we have great mentors internally and externally. We have a small hub now here. So if you get picked, we might find you a place to live and work. Then, of course, we have opened up APIs. Our partners can get an access to see how the integrations can be done best. And small award money, whomever is picked gets 5,000 euros. So, but that aside, we are here for pilots and business, so apply. And applications are open until end of May, and all the information is up on our webpage, or we are here, and our doors are opened anyway, so whenever you feel like contacting us, do it. And do you want to say more about something more about the applications?
Apply, please.
So, and this includes our first ever VUNK Talks. We thank you all for being here, even though the weather, or we have the only summer day today. Being here
that is spent now.
You have spent it very well inside. And thanks for coming. Stay for networking and ask questions and get to know each other. And I promise tomorrow will be sunny as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have only a few things to add. Once again, thank you, Kristi. Thank you, Andres. Thank you, Rebecka. And of course, Thomas and Kati will be also waiting for you in the networking area. In case you haven't visited our VUNK hub, the doors are open and there is food also. So let's go. Let's enjoy our time. Time for networking, having some snacks and good food. And also, those of you who are here, I will keep you posted and keep you noticed when we're going to have little tours around the house if you are interested. Until then, bon appetit. See you soon. Enjoy it. And guys on the left, maybe we can hear some good music for the background. Surprise us. It could be from our dear partner, Spotify.